Torah. I think I really read the non-half Torah. It was Hannah, okay, Samuel 1, that whole chapter. And anytime I read that, especially I know the prayer is really important, and then they use words of that in their liturgy. There is one little phrase in there that he is sovereign over all. I'll get it out, but anyway, and they use that in their liturgy, saying that he is the artist. That this is his art, something to that effect. I thought that was very poetic. I love that. Anyway, as I was reading it, I just was looking at some of the things, and if you want, could I just read you the first chapter of this so that we can have something to kind of go on?
This is your time, Joy.
Oh, thank you. So this is 1 Samuel 1. And and I use this Bible because I love it. It's not perfect. I understand it. This one. Okay. And I know there are some issues with it, but I really just. Okay, so there was a man from Ramathaim, Sophim, in the hills of Ephraim, whose name was Elkanah, the son of I don't. These words are hard. I don't know. Yerachim, and the son of Elihu, the son of Toku, and the son of Zuph, from Ephraim. He had two wives, one named Hannah and the other Peninnah. Peninnah had children, but Hannah had no children. This man went up from his city every year to worship and sacrifice to Yehovah Zavaot in Shiloh. The two sons of Eli, Hophni and Pinchas, were Kohanim of Yehovah there. One day when Elkanah was sacrificing, he gave a portion of the sacrifice to his wife Peninnah and portions to each of her sons and daughters. But to Hannah he gave a double portion because he loved Hannah, even though Yehovah had kept her from having children. Her rival taunted her and made her feel bad because Yehovah had kept her from having children. He did the same every year, and each time she went up to the house of Yehovah, she taunted her so much that she would cry and not eat. Now, why would she pick going up like that to taunt her at that time? I mean, that just kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? That sounds a little, anyway, I just realized that. Her husband, Elkanah, said to her, Hannah, why are you crying? Why aren't you eating? Why be so sad? Am I not better to you than 10 sons? So Hannah got up after they had finished eating and drinking in Shiloh. Eli, the Cohen, was sitting on the seat by the doorpost of the temple of Yehovah. In deep depression, she prayed to Yehovah and cried. Then she took a vow. She said, Yehovah Zavaot, if you will notice how humiliated your servant is, if you will remember me and not forget your servant, but will give your servant a male child, then I will give him back to Yehovah for as long as he lives, and no razor will ever come on his head. She prayed for a long time before Yehovah, and as she did so, Eli was watching her mouth. Hannah was speaking in her heart. Her lips were moving, but her voice could not be heard. So Eli thought she was drunk. He said to her, how long are you going to stay drunk? Stop drinking your wine. Hannah answered, no, my lord, I'm a very unhappy woman. I have not drunk either wine nor strong liquor. Rather, I've been pouring out my soul before Yehovah. Don't think of your servant as a worthless woman, because I have been speaking from the depth of my distress and anger. Then Eli replied, go in peace. May the Yah of Israel grant you what you have asked him. She replied, may your servant find favor in your sight. So the woman went away on her way. She ate, and her face was no longer sad. They got up early in the morning and worshipped before Yehovah, then returned and came to their home in Ramah. Elkanah had sexual relations with Hannah, his wife, and Yehovah remembered her. She conceived, and in due time she gave birth to a son, whom she named Shmuel, which is Samuel, because I asked Yehovah for him. The husband Elkanah went up with all his household to offer the yearly sacrifice to Yehovah and fulfill his vow. But Hannah did not go up, explaining to her husband, not till the child has been weaned. Then I will bring him so that he can appear before Yehovah and live there forever. Her husband Elkanah answered her, do what seems good to you and stay here until you have weaned him. Only may Yehovah bring about what he said. So the woman stayed behind and nursed the child until he was weaned. After weaning him, she took him up with her, along with the 3 young bulls, a bushel of flour, and a skin of wine, and brought him to the house of Jehovah in Shiloh, even though he was just a child. After the bull had been slaughtered, the child was brought to Eli, and she said, "My Lord, as surely as you live, my Lord, I am the woman who stood near you praying to Jehovah. I prayed for this child, and Jehovah has granted me the request I asked of him. Therefore, I too have loaned him to Jehovah. As long as he lives, he is on loan to Jehovah." And he prostrated himself there before Jehovah. So, my first thing that I wanted to go over, I got some little notes, is okay, so, and once again, you guys, this is just Joy's thoughts, and I couldn't confirm or deny this by what I had looked up. I couldn't really find anything going this way. So if I'm wrong, please step in. But they're from Ephraim. Okay, and I consider that my tribe is probably Ephraim because we've been scattered. And I know not everybody may believe that, but that's what I feel. But then you've got the Cohen Eli, who was blinded to what she was doing. He couldn't see the prayer or really what that was because he accused her of being drunk, right? So I think that this may be a type and shadow of us in Judah because Levi was with them, right? I mean, it could be Judea, the northern or the southern tribes. And I think it's kind of a type and shadow. You see that because here's the thing is when he did that, she respectfully put him in his place, basically, and made him jealous because I think made him jealous because look at the end. He prostrated himself before Jehovah. I'm assuming that's meaning the priest, because, right?
Yeah.
Before the Lord.
Okay.
But the
Yes,
priest
that was
prostrated
right.
himself. What was he doing?
He's the one she's talking to.
Yeah.
And so
So
he
what was
doesn't
he
do that.
doing though before that? He was sitting there watching her, and he didn't understand what was going on. So she
Judging.
respectfully put him in his place.
Mhm.
And so I guess kind of that jealousy thing, So I'm hoping that that's what we do for our brothers, either that don't believe or the brothers in Judea or in Israel that won't let us come there. I would like to go there and live there and not have to renounce my Savior. And I know that's coming. Yeshua's going to take care of all that. But let us bring them to him. Same thing, right? Sandy has taught this. This is not mine, but I think it's so cool is that Hannah was speaking in the Spirit. Just like they were in Acts 2. Okay? That Spirit came upon her and,
The same accusation, sorry to interrupt, the same accusation.
Exactly.
Drunk,
Exactly. She had to have been speaking in tongues, I'm guessing. I mean,
Yeah,
it says that
her prayer language.
it says that she was not, she wasn't speaking out loud, but with her and herself, she was speaking that third language, I do believe. So anyway, that was my first thought because she's Ephraim and that's who we are. And I believe that we have an obligation to bring them to know who Yeshua is. Anyway, so Hannah actually means grace. And that's the root word. I left my little notes at home, but Hannah, so her name means grace. Then Peninnah, her name is face. So I just look at that because that woman was in her face. It wasn't always a good thing to have face like that. Because, Yah puts his face on us, but I think this was the negative. She was in her face. Anyway, that's what I thought about that. The other thing that I thought was interesting and I is that in this chapter and in this, Hannah and everybody else referred to Yehovah as Yehovah Zevod. And I wonder if y'all have any reasons why that would be at this particular time. They didn't use El Shaddai. They used Sabaoth. And so, that's the Lord of hosts. And so I'm wondering why that particular name was used here in this chapter.
Well, if you think of Lord of hosts, Lord of armies, so let's equate that. Eli was losing his sight at the time. what that means is he was actually losing his spiritual insight.
That's what I was and I'm gonna go there.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And so
Well, no, she's going through a battle.
that's
Sounds to me like, I mean,
battling her.
it's like, I don't
Sister
have
what?
neuropathy, I'm battling neuropathy.
Yeah. Yes.
And so I call upon Adonai Zavaot, relieve my battle.
So maybe I need to be doing that more then.
Yes,
I don't use that
that's
name.
the way
and
I
think
look
it's very
at it.
interesting. So that's good.
That's a really, no, that's a really good point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is more than just inability to be pregnant. This is a real battle that's going on
Oh, sure it is.
because she's getting ready to birth a prophet.
Right. Right. And she
And he doesn't want that.
of course we know that in that day if you didn't have children you were nothing. I mean that was your goal in life as a woman is to have children, and when you couldn't do that you were, I'm sure, outcast and like teased or whatever.
Something is wrong with you, lady.
Yeah, right. What sin did, just like Yeshua, what sin did you commit that, but it doesn't look to me because I was reading over this and these people were following Torah. I mean, obviously they were going up to the feast and they were following Torah. So yes, Eli was blinded because when you read on, it says that his sons were not doing right. They were taking more of the sacrifices than they were supposed to. They were taking more instead of taking just what they were supposed to have. But you had to know that Eli knew that. So why did he not take care of that? I think he was either tired or like I said, just blinded to that. But anyway, and so yeah.
I think it's interesting too, though, even if he's, blinded to what she's doing, doesn't get,
He didn't get it.
her whole thing about her.
Yeah.
He did turn before he left and said, "The Lord bless you, though."
Well,
give you
sure.
what you
Yes,
want,"
yes.
which is his place and authority to do so. And I think probably helped open the door so that
Right.
the Lord timing, I guess, was his time.
Yes, yes. And then he ended up with that little guy. So that's how he ended up with him. Oh my word. Okay, so the other thing that this reminded me of is that it reminds me of, how do I want to put this? So Elkanah and Hannah, it reminds me of Yeshua and the bride, okay? Because don't we get double portions, I think, when we follow him and we know, I mean, I know that's not in here anyway, but if you think about it, he loves us so much. Just like that man loved his wife, even though she was not, I'm going to cry, even though she was not perfect, he gave us double portion. I'm sorry, he gave us Yeshua.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter what we do, I know that he does forgive us. I know we have to teshuvah and everything, but it just shows the love.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is just a top and shadow of that. I wasn't going to cry. I'm so sorry.
You're an emotional woman. Don't fight it.
So anyway, yeah. So, and the other thing was too is doesn't the Father say to us, he does to me everything, am I not enough? Am I not enough for you? And I know that's in there somewhere. I didn't have my internet, or I would have found that first because I know it says that. So she prayed, and so I showed that she poured out her soul to Yehovah. I love that phrase, and I don't know about any other version, but mine says she poured out her soul. I think of Yeshua and his travailing when he sweat blood. She didn't sweat blood, but she was still travailing. I think just like he did. Didn't he pour out his soul to the Father?
Intercession as well.
Yes.
So I think it's just something that we can learn from. Just get in there and do that. Let's see. So yes, you brought up that the priest did say, "Be blessed." And I have a thing that it doesn't say here. I don't think he knew what she prayed for personally until she brought that child. So I just wondered what he was thinking. Is like, oh my gosh, this is what you were praying, and you've brought me this child. I just think that's pretty amazing. So she after he said those words, after that priest blessed her, her face was lifted and she ate, and she was a different person after that. So what I want to say about that is that we have pastors, and really anybody can do this, but you have pastors that they can tell when there's something going on. They know us, they know me, and they know what's going on. And they will come and I pour my soul out to them. And sometimes it's all it takes is for one of them to say, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And so my face is lifted and I feel better after that. So, and I think that's what has so happened to this poor lady, this blessed lady. The other thing that I thought was very interesting is that, in the Torah, the vow, when the husband hears a woman vow, and she vowed to Yehovah that she would give that child, right? What kind of man was this that just let her give that child? He never bucked her. He never said, you can't do this. He just said, you do what you think is best. I mean, how often does a husband do that for us? I just think that this man had to be godly as well and knew something that nobody else knows, I think. So I thought that was very cool about him, that he loved her so much that, okay, give our first kid away. I just can't imagine a guy doing that and her doing it. That had to have been hard.
And I'm thinking about in is it? I think it's in Leviticus where it talks about the vow.
Mm-hmm.
And if a man hears
Mm-hmm.
the vow, he has to
So maybe it's because
has
he didn't hear it
do something to cancel it,
or
or
leave it be.
let it be.
And he let it
And he
be.
let it be because he trusts his wife.
Yeah. Yes.
Didn't
Yes.
he have other children?
Yes. Yes. She did. I forgot what it said, but she does. She had like three or four others. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that was a test of her faith too.
Mm-hmm.
That-
Right.
And he figured that when, he made that vow, he wanted to see if he would go through with it. He did, and he got the blessing.
I tried to do research is about the sacrifice that she brought. It's not exactly, but she put 3 young bulls, a bushel of flour, and a skin of wine. I couldn't find that in there as far as what kind of maybe sacrifice she brought, but she brought things. And it says that she brought it. Those had to have been her things. She brought three young bulls. I mean,
Well,
he was
after birth,
very humble.
male and female, they're supposed to bring an offering after that child's born.
But he was older than that because she had him weaned. So I don't think it was that offering. I think just a lot offering, I guess, but I couldn't find that about that. So I already said this, but she brought that child to Eli, and he probably was going, "Lady, what are you even talking about?" Because I don't think he heard the prayer. I don't think he knew personally. It doesn't say that he did. And then the other thing is that baby, they say 2. I just can't imagine that he was only 2 when she brought him there. I've heard that they will breastfeed until almost 5 years old, but I know he was a child. But I just feel like he probably had to have been a little bit older because he heard. I mean, you can hear the father at 2. I mean, I know that.
That Eli or whatever
Eli.
Was so, yeah,
Yes.
and to leave your child with him took a lot of faith
I
because
know.
he didn't seem to be nice enough to
That's
raise
kind of.
a child.
And you look back at when that little boy heard the father's voice. Once again, Eli didn't know what that was. He just sent him back to bed. He says, "You're hearing things. It wasn't me." I don't think so. He was kind of going downhill as far as the spiritual thing. I think. Don't you? Does that sound like that? Anyway,
I think he's probably bogged down in religion.
whatever, maybe, and just so out of
His heart and faith wasn't doing it.
right.
He was doing it out of love.
Right.
Doing it.
That was really all about her. The other thing I wanted to bring up is I heard a fellow, this is totally different subject, but I didn't have the time to figure out where to look or whatever, but I heard a fellow talking about, and I don't want to glorify Hasatan at all. Well, this is totally, I just learned about this a day or two before we came, and there was a fellow that had, and I don't usually listen to these guys, okay, but for some reason he came on and I was listening to him, but he died during, he was a army guy, and he died during heart surgery. And he says that the Father showed him a lot about the spiritual aspect, you know, the demonology and all that, right?
Okay, what did I miss?
Well, this gentleman, I don't usually listen to these things. This gentleman was he died on the table and came back and said that the Father had showed him a bunch of things. And I don't take stock in all of that, okay? But something you said was very interesting. He was talking about the realm that we don't see, the kingdom versus kingdom, and it seems like he learned a lot about that. But one thing he did say, I wish I'd listened to it more, but he said that Hasatan has a breastplate, or he has jewels, and I can remember reading that somewhere. I just couldn't find it. Anyway, so, but it does say, here's what he said.
Well, he mimics everything.
Okay, so here's what he said. And he says his breastplate only has nine jewels in it. And he said Issachar is one of the ones that's missing. And he went back to the verse that says that Issachar is the one that is the studier, the scholar that is discerning about the word.
And knows the times and the seasons.
And so what his prefaces is that Hasatan really can't, if we're thinking it, he doesn't know what we're thinking. He doesn't know what we're going to do necessarily unless we speak it, or, else when we start to do it or whatever. Because he said he doesn't have that discernment. And anyway, I just thought that was very interesting. I would like to study that more.
I think that's really cool.
In the fact that it's not 12, it's not, he's a mimicker. He's just always less.
It would make me want to know what other 2-1 he's missing.
I know, right. So that's why I
Where
was
did you
wanting.
get this about the breastplate? Was that in
Yeah.
scripture? 'Cause
I don't know. That's what I did a disclaimer. I don't know that. And it may not be a breastplate, but it seems like what I remember reading is he was
He was
covered with-
bejeweled.
He was bejeweled. Yeah. Now where he got, there were only 9. I don't know. I couldn't find it. And like I said,
If
I
he
listened.
sat on the table and saw that realm, he probably saw it visually in that realm.
Yeah, but I would rather it be in the word. I agree. And maybe that's what he saw, but I don't.
Because,
if
when
I'm gonna
Revelation,
teach something, I want it to be from here,
yeah, well, if you look at Revelation, John went before God and God showed him these things.
I know.
So that might have been what happened with him.
I do think Dan is missing in the book of Revelation.
Right.
Dan's one of them that's missing.
Yep.
So Dan's jewel will probably be on second.
Oh, anyway, just a thought. If I just heard it sooner, I could have researched it a little bit better, but it was just right before we came. It made me very interested. But that's all I have. So I'm going to pray. Father, I just thank you right now in Yeshua's name that you have been here with us this whole time. We invite your presence. We want you here, Father. Father, I just ask for blessings over this thing, and let us bless you, Father. Let us minister to you the way we should as these priests that we are, that you have made us, Father. Let us be beautiful to you, and just give us the discernment so we can be, Father. And I ask that I stand in the gap, and I ask for forgiveness for any words that have been spoken against anyone, anywhere, Father, because I ask forgiveness for that right now in Yeshua's name. So we bless you, and we come before you humble, and let your glory be shown. I pray these things in Yeshua's name. Amen.
Hey,
Ezekiel 28,
Okay.
13 through 17,
Okay.
specifically 13,
28:13 through what?
17. But let's see. Thou hast been in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone was thy covering, with sardius, topaz, diamond, beryl, onyx, jasper, sapphire, emerald, and carbuncle.
So what we need to do is go back and see which ones go with each
tribe.
See, it's going to take a little study. So thank you for that.
And then it adds,
where you didn't say breastplate.
No, I know, and I don't know why that guy said that.
was thy covering. Well, what is covering?
That's it.
But still,
Covering is the mesukah, and it's a garniture. He's garnished with it.
Yeah, see, I would question.
but still, if you
No, it's very thoughtful.